Okay, I am here with a 2016 Winnebago Navion, and the isolator solenoid has failed. And the reason that we know that is we took a voltage tester, and this end right here is the chassis battery, and the other side of the solenoid is the house battery. So when the engine was running, we measured the voltage on the chassis battery side, which when the engine is running, it's 14 plus volts. And if the solenoid's working, you'll also see that same 14 volts over on the other terminal where the house battery is connected. But we didn't see that, so that means this has failed. So now we're going to remove the seat. You have 4 bolts in each one of these corners, and it's an 11 millimeter. So we'll do that and come back. All right, so here we are on this is the what under the passenger seat of a 2016 Winnebago Navion looks like. And here's the isolator solenoid down here that we're going to be replacing. But the first thing I want to disconnect is this negative. This is your ground, because we're replacing it actually with a different kind of solenoid. It has 4 terminals instead of just 3, because this one uses a ground at the base, uses the metal casing with the ground and the ground of the chassis. So I need to disconnect this. Plus, it's always good to disconnect the negative first. Now, you do want to make sure you disconnect the house batteries, and you want to pull the disconnect over at the driver's accelerator pedal. So you kill all the power to this. But then I always treat all positives as if they're hot, because capacitors and things like that do hold residual voltage into the system. So you just want to treat everything like it's hot, regardless, just so you're careful. So I'll get on with that. Okay, it turns out that I can't get this is just too tight to get to. So I'm going to take these off, and that will remove this whole black metal tray. And then I'll be able to get to the bolts on the underside of this to undo that solenoid from the metal plate. All right, so here's these are 7/16. I think the nuts I took off were also probably 7/16, but I did use an 11 millimeter. So now I'm going to remove these, which will then drop the solenoid, take the solenoid off of the plate. And we'll also disconnect these 2 ground wires. So we'll get on with that. Okay, so as I said, this is the ground. This is your ground wire. This is your chassis battery. So I put a piece of tape around this and put CH on both those wires. So this is my chassis battery side. And over here, it's hard to see, that's my house battery side. I'm going to label that. And then these little wires up here on top, this is a switch. This is your ignition control. And this is what tells your isolator solenoid to turn off and on. So both these wires will stay together. So I'm going to put the labels and tape on now. So I'm going to do that and come back. All right, so I've got the house and chassis battery wires disconnected. And now I'm just going to connect the switch, and this old solenoid will be completely disconnected. All right, so I've got the chassis battery. Like I said, this is a Cole Hersey, and it has 4 terminals. So the chassis battery still goes on this side. The house battery, it's hard to see, but it's on the opposite side. I can't get it. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's on the opposite side. And then the switch goes on the left, and the ground will go on the right. And I'm going to hook up the ground very last. So now I'm going to put the black plate back in place, and the ground will be our last thing to do, and then we'll test it. All right, so we've got the Cole Hersey replacement in. We've got everything hooked up, and now it's time to test it. So we are going to hook up our batteries, reattach our chassis battery, and Wait for 10 minutes to let our computer and stuff stabilize. That's what you're supposed to do. And then we'll test it. Okay, I'm going to be using my voltage tester, which I've got clipped to the seat base ground bolt. And like I said, I'll be testing the chassis side, which in fact I can go ahead and test it now. And we have 11.9 volts. Boy, your chassis battery is low. And we have 12.9 for the house battery. So when we start the engine, the chassis battery side is going to go up to 14 volts, and the solenoid will close, and we should also see 14 volts on the house side. That's how you know the solenoid is working. All right, we started the engine, and his 11.9 volts went to 13.9. Great. And the chassis battery is reading 13.7, 13.8. It should build a little bit here. Isolator solenoid is working again. That's great. $13.9 on the chassis side. Yeah, 13.8, 13.9, yeah. Okay, so your solenoid is working. The isolator solenoid is working again. Okay, now we've got a lithium battery in this 2016 Winnebago Navion, and we have a Victron shunt. And if we look at our shunt readout, there's our 13.9, and we got 58 amps pumping to the battery. Fabulous battery charging. Okay, so obviously your battery needs to be charged, or it wouldn't be taking that much, so that's good. So your solenoid is working, and that's fabulous, because now your house battery will be charged anytime you drive. Okay, this cover goes on here. It usually goes like this. So we'll get that back on, and then we'll get our seat back on. And like I said, it's 4 bolts in these corners. So we're just going to button all that back up, and we're done.